What a bullet! Scott Arfield! He's been threatening that recently, and all the Burnley players run to the Darwin end.
Burnley win the next ball. Here's Rory now. On the outside, decent.
Barnes! He got it! Ashley Barnes with it! What a cross from Rory! And there was Ashley Barnes! And Burnley leading the derby.
Knocks it quickly. Finds Benson in space at the byline. Can Burnley get a goal here?
Back for Brownell! Saved by the keeper! Burnley won it to the end! That is magnificent! They deserve that! Only by Paul Patella, off for a hat-trick. He's got it. Hat-trick for Nathan Teller. Oh, he's on fire at the minute. 3-0 Burnley. It's Nathan Teller's day, and Burnley are 3 up here. Fantastic derby.
Here's Benson. Can he go on the outside? Comes inside. Comes have a shot.
Oh, the goal. Manuel Benson once more. That is top class. Burnley have done it. Fantastic. Clarets deserve the championship title. They've been the best side throughout the campaign. Burnley have won the second tier. What a fantastic achievement. The players have been magnificent.
Yes, hello everyone and welcome along to the latest episode of the Turfcast podcast. Full-time show with me, Joe Redmond, after Burnley's defeat against Chelsea on Saturday, 4-1 at Turf Moor. Raheem Sterling given the freedom of the stadium as well. Well, obviously a couple of things before I get started. Apologies is my first one. Apologies that we are a little late with this. Of course, we normally do this on Sunday. A couple of times we've done it on Monday. Sometimes back in the day, I used to do it on Saturday, didn't I? Straight after the match. But we're having a few sort of like personnel issues in the sense that nobody seems to be available at the same time. Mainly my fault. I was working 12 hours on Sunday and then 12 hours on Monday, and a couple of the lads were free in sort of like patches on them days, but it wasn't matching up with when I was free, and I was the only one available to host. But I'm here now. But if you're watching on YouTube, you will have noticed it is just me. So if that's not your thing, I understand. I don't like doing it by myself. If I'm honest with you, I like to debate. That's the whole point of it. Because in other words, it's just me putting my tuppence in, and who cares what I have to say, really? That's why I like to have a debate on the channel. That's what the channel's all about. But in the as they say, the show must go on. So we didn't do a show for Luton for similar reasons. And obviously we missed the only win of the season, the only win in the Premier League of the season. So I felt like we had to do one this time. And if it's just me, then so be it. Completely understand if it's not your thing. Completely understand if you just think, you know what, I'll give it a miss this time, mate, and I'll come back. That's fair enough. But what I will do, obviously, with it being just me, I can't bounce off Neil and Sam and the rest of them. So I'll have to sort of like do things a little bit differently. It won't be as long, unfortunately. Probably aim for around half an hour. At a push, 45 minutes, but 45 minutes is a push as well, because at the time of recording this on Tuesday, I need to be somewhere in around 45 minutes, so it's unlikely. But anyway, what I'll do is I'll go through the goals, I'll look at them, and I'll just basically get my tuppence in, and I will have a look at some of the comments that have been put on the channel, because of course we have already done the fan reactions. Myself, Neil, and Dale have all done it. And Dale, by the way, we've just been having a bit of banter in the Turfcast WhatsApp group. The fans are loving Dale. The fans are loving Dale. He's had the most views again this week, and I think last time, to be fair, he had the most views because he said some stuff that was quite polarising, so people were debating it, and of course that pushes up the algorithm. This time, everything he said to me spot on, and he's just been nice and calm and chill. I just think the fans love him. It must be that immaculate hairline. Honestly, it must be, because it is perfect. His hair is always perfect. But anyway, let's get into the match, of course. Sticking with Dale, of course, he did say in his fan reaction that it felt like Luton was 2 steps forward and this game was 5 steps back again. And I can only agree. I feel like we looked like we did in the earlier games against Villa and Tottenham, despite recently. Even the defeat at Newcastle, I thought we looked better recently. Stronger defensively. Basically, since the return of Charlie Taylor, I felt that we've looked stronger defensively. But actually, you know what? Before I get into the goals, I'll just quickly talk about that starting lineup because I think it shocked everybody. It definitely shocked me. I've started doing the predicted lineups again on the channel. It was something that was recommended to me, and I started doing it again. Thank you to Isaac for the beautiful graphic that he created, which is very easy for me to sort of like manipulate it and change it into what I think the team will be. But I obviously was miles away with the lineup. Because there was a lot of surprises in it. So let's quickly go through it. So, so I think the main surprises were Audebert, who did very well, to be fair, getting a start. And then at the back, of course, Bayer was injured, so the hand was kind of forced with Bayer, but Delquar came in. And I was a little bit worried with Delquar at first because we've only seen him play at left back, haven't we? And that experiment definitely didn't work. I think everybody can agree with that, even Delquar and Vincent. But I was shocked to see him play Vitinho at right back. Connor Roberts hasn't been good recently, admittedly. But when you're coming up against an attacker as good as Raheem Sterling and as fast as Raheem Sterling, there's been question marks over Vitinho's quality. Even when we're in the Championship, I think he's a decent Championship player at best, if I'm being honest, and that might sound a little bit harsh. But I think he's another one of the players that we signed last season that probably wouldn't be good enough in the Prem. And I think we all thought that at the time. And I was just shocked to see Vincent start him in this game against a team of that quality. Maybe because there's been a bit of illness going around the camp, or so the rumours are on Twitter. There's been no official word of that, but just because there's no official word, we know doesn't mean that it isn't happening. There was no official word on Bayer's injury until the team news came out. But apparently there's been a bit of illness in the camp, so maybe Connor had a bit of an issue with illness. I believe Zaroris had a bit of issue with illness. That's why he's not been in the side. So who knows? But I just think a lot of it was on Vincent and that team selection, if I'm going to be brutally honest with you. I'm not sure. I'm going to say I'm not sure what he was trying to do. I do know what he was trying to do. He was trying to take a risk and play in a sort of like a different style. But why do that in this game? That's what annoys me. Why do that in a game where if it goes wrong, we get battered? And that's exactly what happened. We got battered. And I felt we deservedly got battered as well. That second half was probably the worst I've seen us play under Vincent. And that's saying something because we were terrible against Spurs. Maybe it's recency bias that. I'd say if maybe they're on a par at the two games, but that second half it just stood out so much. It was so jarring, wasn't it, with how bad we were? Probably because of how decent we were in the first half. But let's get into the game then. Having said that as well, I've not mentioned Trezor. I thought that was a shock as well. Like I understand why he's been brought in. And I like the look of him. And I know people say, "Oh, you've only watched him on YouTube." It's not true. I think some of you may know that I do. I work for a streaming company, DAZN. You may have heard of him. But I've seen him play a few times because I sometimes do the Belgian league there. Seen him play a few times. He's a decent player. But I'm not sure starting him in these sort of games is the way forward. Maybe start him against a team where we're going to have a lot of the ball. Bournemouth, Brentford, we might not have a lot of the ball actually, but I think we will do against Bournemouth. But starting in them sort of games, where he's going to get on the ball and he's going to make things happen. But when we are mainly defending or mainly without the ball, like we were against Chelsea, only 37% possession in the entire game against Chelsea, I'm not sure Trezor's your man, if I'm being honest with you. What I will say though is a lot of people have been giving him stick, saying he looks disinterested, he doesn't want to be here. I mean, he's not looked good. I'll admit that. To say he looks disinterested, he doesn't want to be here, I think it's a stretch. Have we not learned our lesson from Lyle Foster? A lot of people were giving him grief last season, saying he's not good enough, especially in the Prem next season. He's going to be nowhere near good enough. Look at him now. He's been our best player so far this season, arguably. And it's proven a lot of people wrong. Trezor, give him time. Give him time before we start giving him grief. A lot of people saying, I saw someone say he should never put on a Burnley shirt again. But I know people like to be reactionary. But let's just calm down. I think Trezor will come good, but I don't think Chelsea was a game for him. I think Vincent got that one wrong. And I think the defeat is the point I'm trying to make, is the defeat for me is on Vincent. I think the team selection was wrong. It's easy to say that in hindsight, isn't it? But why put Vitinho up against Raheem Sterling? and that's baffling to me. That's baffling to me. I think he's brought Vitinho on because Connor Roberts has given the ball away a lot recently, and to play in the style that Vincent wants to play in, you're going to want players at the back who are good at keeping the ball. Obviously, we know that now. We know how we're trying to play. We're trying to play out from the back. We're trying to invite the press, and then we're trying to beat it, which is, by the way, how we scored the first goal. So, it's there in patches. But without the ball in a game, again, like today, as I've just made the point, Raheem literally had the freedom of the turf, didn't he? Every time the ball went to him, he was in acres of space, absolute acres of space. And it took too long for Vitinho or Al-Dakhil or whoever to get over to him. And by then, it is running at you. And that's not where you want to be against Raheem. He had a chance very early on, didn't he? Where, again, he was given the freedom of the ground, and then he came inside and then bent it wide. But yeah, I just feel like this is on Vincent. If I'm honest with you, the defeat. However, I will say, we know he's a young manager. We know these are young players. We know he's learning just like the players are learning. I think that was a learning curve for him. I think he will look at that and hopefully not do it again. There's been a couple of shouts saying that we should be what's the word that Jacob used on Twitter, because he highlighted the fact that some people were saying things that they shouldn't be. I think some people said, yeah, that's it. I think I retweeted it, so I'll just quickly get it up now. But I think some people did say that if we lose the next couple of games, then questions need to be asked about Vincent. I'm just quickly getting the tweet up that I did retweet. Yeah, company needs to be questioned. I know people like to be reactionary, but come on. Again, he's learning. I personally think he's got more than enough credit in the bank from last season. I don't want to go into full corporate mode and full board mode and sound like, a chairman of the club, because obviously I'm not. But I feel like the whole point of me being able to do something like this, the podcast, is to be able to criticise the club and the people within the club as and when they deserve it, which is part of the reason why I never applied to be on the fan advisory board, because I don't feel like you can do something like this and be on a fan advisory board. You need to be impartial. But for me, it's way too early. Come on. It's even if we lost the next two and we were staring down the barrel of the relegation, if we lose the next two at Brentford and Bournemouth, even I'll start to admit, like, yeah, lads, it don't look good. But let's just, again, stop being reactionary. He's got more than enough credit in the bank for me. If we got relegated, I still don't think we will, if we got relegated, I still wouldn't sack him. I would still do what we did with Dyche the first time we went up, where we kept him and then continue to build. They've mentioned several times, our company and the board, that it's a project, it's a long-term project. You can see what they're trying to do. They're making the brand bigger. They're making, and part of that is the style of football as well. It's more attractive for investors when clubs play in a certain way. Of course, results are needed as well to be attractive for investors. But I think they'll come. The longer we have Vincent at the helm, the better it is for us. He's massive in terms of his recognition across the globe. He is going to play in a certain way, and if we continue to back him, the board at boardroom level, like we have done, I can only see us going one way, and that's up and up and up. Yes, we might have to take a step back, but could you imagine if we went into the Championship next season and some of the players that we've got? Yes, we'd have to sell a few. I'm not denying that. But we wouldn't have to sell as many as we did last time. I feel like the likes of Odebear would stay. Players, these up-and-coming players that we've got. And we've got quite a lot of promising youngsters as well. I think even Trafford would stay. Al-Dakhil, I think he'd stay. I think your Bayers and your Cullens and your Bergs might leave. But the point I'm trying to make is even if we get relegated, I would keep Vincent at the helm personally. And continue this progression. Yes, we've had a slow start to the season, but that for me, again, it is the fixtures. But I'll tell you what I'll do. As I said, I will do. I'll watch the goals here with me. Obviously, I can't show them you due to copyright issues, but I will talk you through them and just have a look at what went wrong and why it went wrong. But the first goal, obviously, was the Burnley goal. Now, the feed that I'm watching is actually from Sky Sports, and it doesn't show the brilliant play we did in the build-up to this. It just starts with Burnley having the ball on the right-hand side. But the fact that we have the ball in that position was from, even just on this freeze frame that I'm looking at now, you've got we've got the ball on the halfway line, and the ball is further progressed than 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 Chelsea players. So we've beaten their press by doing the passing it out from the back. And I remember rightly at the time that a couple of people around me were shouting, "Why are we doing this? Why are we doing this?" And then up we went and scored the goal. And I'm like, that's why we're doing this. Because it was brilliant play. We invited the press, got past them. So even though it's not gone well, this game and the season so far, there's still little patches and you can see what we're trying to do. Now, I know a lot of people aren't as positive as me at the minute, which is ironic because all my friends tell me I'm quite a pessimistic person. But I feel at the minute I can see what we're trying to do and I can see that it's working in patches. There's obviously a lot to work on. I'm not saying there isn't. Obviously defensively in the midfield there is. But anyway, we have the ball. Brilliant work from Foster. He cuts inside, puts one of the Chelsea defenders on his arse, out to Waterbear, great finish, 1-0. That is a brilliant goal. That is a brilliant goal. And that's what we can do. But we know that that's not the issue at the minute. The issue isn't going forward. The issue is at the back. And Al Dakhil, he's got a lot of stick recently again on Twitter. It wasn't one of his best games, admittedly. Obviously, the own goal will be coming up now. Just looking at the Waterbear finish again, it's a great finish. But yeah, here we are. Right, so Chelsea have got the ball again on their left, our right. Raheem Sterling, I've just paused it as he's got the ball. 1, 2, 3, 4. It took 4 seconds for Vitinho to get anywhere near him, and that's because Raheem's ran at him. It's infuriating. Just get tighter, get closer. Roberts has been poor recently. I will hold my hands up and say that. Not that I'm a massive Roberts defender. I do think he's been poor recently. His passing out from the back has been atrocious. Probably gave the ball away more than anybody in the team. That probably will be wrong. Someone happily can put a stat underneath it. Connor, if you're listening, feel free to do it. But he's a better defender than Vitinho for me, and that wouldn't have happened. I don't think we'd have lost this game as badly if Connor was there, but then we probably wouldn't have scored that first goal, to be fair, because I think Vitinho had a part to play. But anyway, Sterling's got the freedom of turf more. Trezeguet's not helping much, man. Like, he's trying, he's there, but he's just a body at the minute. Like, Trezeguet's got back. Raheem runs at Vitinho, as I've said. Trezeguet's tried to get back. He's not slotting into that gap quickly enough. And then as Raheem's ran at him, he's nowhere near. But anyway, Raheem takes them both on quite easily. I don't blame Al Dakhil one bit for that goal. It's unfortunate. It's a lazy, he moves his leg towards the ball, doesn't he? It's quite lazy. But for that to happen and to loop up the way it did and go over Trafford, it's so unfortunate. It's so unfortunate. The reason why they scored that goal, Chelsea, is because of the space that Raheem had. That's why. Nothing to do with Al Dakhil, in my opinion. I'm not saying he played well at all. He didn't. But it's not Al Dakhil's fault. That's just unfortunate. That's because of the space that Raheem had down that our right-hand side. Yeah, it's just showing it again. It's so unfortunate as well. It could have gone anywhere. It didn't. He shouldn't have stuck the lazy leg out. But he gets past the 2 players so easily. And then Vitinho again, Raheem gets it. Vitinho backs off this time. This is why I don't watch the highlights back. I just get so mad. So Raheem gets it. I've just paused it as he's got it. 1, 2, 3. And Raheem. Vitinho's backed off. He's not even gone. He's edged towards him and then backed off. A player's gone round the defender. He's gone round Vitinho. That's surely up to another defender to pick him up or to let him run offside. Anyway, he runs off him, stands off him. I tell you what, that might be outside the box. I mean, I'm sure VAR will show me that it isn't in a second. I've not watched it back since. But then obviously Vitinho lunges in. It's a blatant pen if it's in the box. It's a blatant foul, put it that way. All Vitinho that. He backed off, let him run it in. Yeah, it's on the line, isn't it? Yeah, it's a penalty, to be fair. But yeah, shocking from Vitinho, that absolutely shocking. Cole Palmer as well, decent finish. Disappointed. And genuinely thought we had a chance of buying him. Well, not buying him, but loaning him from City in the summer. Not to be. He gets his first Premier League goal, first ever Premier League goal, I think it is, for Chelsea against the Clarets. Trafford goes the wrong way. We'll get on to Trafford later. Not that he can do much there, to be fair. And then the third Chelsea goal coming up. I remember tweeting about this at the time because I was fuming. We've got the ball in the middle. and we lose it. Shock horror, Burnley lost possession. I'm not sure who it is at the Titans. I'm not sure. Is it Brownhill? I don't know. Anyway, we've lost the ball in the middle. Chelsea coming. Ball out wide to Raheem again. I mean, it was all Raheem at the minute, and we just couldn't handle him. And that's because of the space that we were giving him. It's just absolute shambles defensively. A lot of people are saying the issues are in midfield, and there are issues in midfield. But just watching this back now, the issues are clearly in defence in this game for me. There's not enough protection from midfield, admittedly. That goal did come from losing the ball in the middle. That's the first point where it all started to go wrong. But again, there's no one anywhere near him. Is Vitinho even on the pitch at this point? I can't remember because I don't see him anywhere in this build up here. I know it's Conor Roberts is there. Yeah. Al Dakhil's the only one that tries to get anywhere near him, but he's not quick enough in that scenario. Decent finish from Raheem in the end. But yeah. And oh, look, we've started again. The fourth goal's about to come. Who's got the ball down the left-hand side? You guessed it, Raheem Sterling. So I'm here at the early part of this saying, I don't think it would have been as bad with Conor. Where even is Conor Roberts on that one? Like he's up there. I just maybe I'm talking rubbish. Anyway, ball in from Conor, goes to Cole Palmer. He then gives it to Jackson. What is that from Dakhil? Dakhil comes towards him, and it's not even a good bit of skill from Jackson. Jackson, by the way, is dreadful. Like he's poor. The fact that we're letting him score against us just tells you an entire story. Just looking at the shape of that defence now. I paused it when Palmer's got the ball. He got Jackson on the edge of the 6-yard box with no one anywhere near him. The closest player to him, I'm not sure who it is. The stream that it's not a stream. The video that I'm watching is at the best quality. Is advanced, like ahead of him, not goal side. There is a player goal side on pretty much on the line. I think it's Delcourt. Things froze now. It's actually not. Yeah, I'll hold my hands up and apologise. It's not Al Dakhil who does that horrendous challenge at that point. I think it's O'Shea. But everything about that goal was dreadful. Jackson with all that, it's just shite, isn't it, lads? Let's be honest. It's that defending is just dreadful. Everything about the defence was all over the shop in that game. And for me, I know some people have turned around and said, I don't think the defence is the main issue. I think it's midfield. I'm sorry. It's the defence. It's all over the place. It's absolutely all over the place. It was O'Shea. Yeah. I'm not going to go in on individuals too much. He says after spending the last 15 minutes slagging off Vitinho, but I think that's why I'm reluctant to do it now so much, because Vitinho's got a lot of stick this week, and he wasn't good enough. And that's literally all I can say about him. He wasn't good enough. And I don't think he is good enough for this league, if I'm honest with you. O'Shea came in as well. Like, I'm sorry, not good enough. He wasn't good enough in this game. He's a good defender, is O'Shea. I'm not going to write him off yet. Again, he's another one that's coming this summer. Was very good at West Brom. Very good. Some people can sit there and go, yeah, but it's a championship. Yeah, fair enough, but you've got to give him time to adapt. I don't think he's quite ready. For the Prem, maybe just yet. I'm not sure what we do with this defence issue now, though. Like, I'm not sure how long Bay is out for. I saw someone say on Twitter it's going to be a couple of months. I haven't seen anything official on that. But admittedly, I didn't watch the post-match press conference or digest too much content after the defeat. So if Vincent has said it, then fair enough. But he's the only decent defender I feel like we have at the minute. Delcourt. I don't mind Delcourt in isolation, and I don't mind. I wouldn't say I don't mind O'Shea. I think he will be good eventually. At the minute, I don't think he's quite what we need. But this is what I'm going back to the point I made earlier before I watched the game. Like, why has Vincent made these changes? Like, you're bringing in a defender that's not played much Premier League football in Delcourt, and then at the same time, you're bringing in a forward who's not played much Premier League football in Trezor. You're bringing in a forward that's not played much or any Premier League football in Audebert. I mean, all right, he did very well, did Audebert, so you can't really complain about that one, but still. And then you're bringing in Vitinho, who's just not good enough. Why make them 4 changes? If you're going to make a change, say, for example, if you're forced into this Bayer change, fair enough. Obviously, bring in Audebert. Audebert, not Audebert, Delcourt. and then just say, look, maybe keep the back four as it is. Other than that, after the win at Luton, like, why are you making that change now? That's what I don't get. I don't get why he's made all these changes. If Bayer was injured in the warm for something, then just tweak it. Just tweak it again. But I'm pretty certain. Well, I know for a fact it wasn't injured in the warm. But it's, for me, I feel like he tinkered too much. I feel like he's overthinking it. I think that's the best way of saying it. He's overthinking it, is Vincent. I think too much tweaking with the team there for me. And I just feel like if you're forced into this change and you need to make a change because you have an injury at centre-back, then don't make all these other changes as well. Maybe make a change to the front three if you feel like you need to. But I'm not sure why you're making more changes to the back line. Like I said before, I can see what he's trying to do. He wants a player who's a good ball player at the back, and he feels like, obviously, well, I presume this is what he's doing, and it feels like Connor Roberts hasn't been good with the ball at his feet recently, and that's because he's brought in Vitinho. But then on the flip side of that, Vitinho is just not good enough defensively, and that was evident. Raheem Sterling had a hand to play in every single goal. Admittedly, some of them were when Vitinho went on the pitch, but still, it's so frustrating. Anyway, like I said, I do like to sometimes get your comments on this show. I will start wrapping it up in the next 10 minutes or so. So apologies again, it's not been as long as it usually is, although we're hitting half an hour now. So I've done quite well. But obviously this is live. I can't read the comments out. So I'm going to read some of the comments that are already on the channel from the videos that we've done on the fan reaction. So I've just opened up my fan reaction first. Flyover Fred USA says, big issue for me. 2 of our starting defence cost 1 million each. How do we spend nearly 100 million and end up in that situation? Yeah, I'm not too. Yeah, I mean, I agree with that. I agree with the fact that we've spent all this money and there's still massive gaps in the team. Like, there's a massive gap at left back now. We spent all this money and we still don't have a good left back at going forward. Charlie Taylor's solid, and I think we are better with him in the team at the minute. But I don't understand how we've spent all this money and there's a massive gaping hole there. And there's probably centre backs now that I like Al-Dakhil, and I think he will probably be, a starting defender in a top Premier League team or whatever league he wants to play in the future. But right now, I don't know. I think there's gaps there. And then again, Vitinho, like, you spent 100 million quid and you're starting a player who's probably championship quality at best in Vitinho. So yeah, I agree with that. John Faulkner says it's also playing how much we are missing Teller's class. He infected the whole team positively last season and was a difference in a lot of games with Foster stepping up. He'd have been ideal. Koleosho and Odeberg is doing a job, I suppose. I just hope they both become as influential. I agree. I do think we miss Teller slightly, but I think he's the player that we miss the least from the lads that aren't here from last season. I think we miss Martson the most. And I think we miss Taylor Halber-Bellis a lot as well. I think Teller's the person that we miss the least, if I'm being honest with you, John. Love the lad, miss him to bits, would like him in. I do think he would improve us. But I think we miss the other two more. Ginger Ali says, as soon as we scored, I could sense a 3-1/4-1 pasting. Too much passing pointlessly between Trafford and defenders. All Chelsea had to do was step it up a gear. And they did just that after the needless penalty. Heads dropped very easily due to lack of experience. Sterling should have been man-marked. Even a blind man could see that he was given too much freedom. I could go on, but what's the point? We need points desperately. Yeah, I mean, I've said it several times on this podcast already. Raheem Sterling was given too much freedom. So, yeah, I completely agree with that. I understand, again, with the frustration. I understand the frustration with our style of play when we lose. But the passing from the back, and we're doing it for a reason. I think I'm not going to lecture. Everybody knows why we're doing it, and the first goal was evident of it. But that's what they were trying to do then. But it just wasn't working. This is what annoys me. Like, I don't feel like we have a plan B. It's like, yes, play out from the back. If it works, brilliant. We win a match and we win it very well. But if we then pass it out from the back and then we don't manage to beat the press as much as we'd like, then we don't have a plan B. That's my problem. There's nothing else after that. It's just, we've tried that. What do we do now, Gaffer? And then nothing happens. Like, there's no plan B. That's my problem. Above Top Secret One says, chin up, Joe. It was a difficult watch, but like you say, our season will not be defined on today's game, but Lawson needs to start for me. Yeah, I haven't said that yet. And I know like I said, my friends have always said I'm very pessimistic and very negative. And to a degree, I agree. But I think I'm one of the only fans left that's saying, look, yes, we've lost a lot of games. 6, I think it is. Yes, lost 6, won 1, drawn 1. But we've lost games against, all right, Chelsea and Man United. People will argue they're not as good recently and blah blah blah. Yes, I agree, but they still have the quality and the players to hurt you. And when you play in passive manner like we do in the second half against Chelsea and against Man United, then these teams with quality will pick you off. The worry is that even your Sheffield Uniteds and not Luton, I don't think Luton have played anyone that decent yet, have they? Off the top of my head, I can't remember. But your Sheffield Uniteds and your Wolves have either nearly picked up results against the teams that we've been battered against. In the Sheffield United case, obviously 1-0 up at Spurs until the 90th minute, then lost 2-1, which was hilarious, obviously. And Wolves, of course, beating Man City. So that is a worry. But when you look at the fixtures, I didn't expect us to be in this position. I'll be honest, I didn't expect us to be in this position 8 games in. However, as soon as the fixtures came out, I said, I don't know if I said it on this podcast, I don't know if I said it on like Turf Morehouse or another one, but I remember saying, it could have been on the overlap, I can't remember, I don't know if I mentioned it, but on the overlap. But I remember saying, look, it's going to be a difficult start. My worry is the year we went down under Daesh, we had a difficult start in terms of results, and then never really bounced back, because then you're playing catch up, then the pressure's on you, then you make mistakes. That was always my worry for this season. I just felt like with the start that we had, then it was going to be difficult for us to get points on the board early and then relieve the pressure. Now we're in a position where we're playing catch up. Thankfully, it's not been as bad. Like, yes, the results haven't been great, but Luton and Sheffield United, I'm sorry, feel free if you're a Sheffield United or Luton fan to click this up at the end of the season if you stay up and make me look a mug. But Sheffield United will finish bottom. I am convinced of that. I still believe Luton finished second bottom, and then after that, it's take your pick. It's us at the minute. I feel like it's Bournemouth. I feel Brentford are in trouble. I know Wolves have had a couple of good results, especially the game against Man City. They're in trouble. Everton will be in trouble, but I feel like they'll stay up. Forest will be in trouble. I know they got a win last time out, but Forest, sorry, not Forest, got a win last time out. Fulham, I know they drew last time out in a good result against Palace, but look, I still feel like we stay up. But my point is, judge us at the end of sort of midway through November, end of November, when we've played teams in and around us. Look, we've played 2 teams in and around us, both away from home. This is the frustrating thing as well. Even the games against teams in and around us are away from home, right? And even the next 2 are. This fixture list is a joke. But we've got points. We beat Luton, laboured to it, admittedly, but we were the better side. I don't care what anybody says. And drew at Forest, where again we were the better side. I genuinely believe, I've got tickets to Brentford. Thank you to everybody for helping with that. I put a couple of tweets out asking, managed to get 2 tickets to Brentford. I think we go there and I think we win, or at least put in a performance and get a draw. I feel like Brentford are in trouble this year. They've won 1 game this season. I don't know who it's against off the top of my head, probably someone dreadful, but they lost at home to Everton, who at the time hadn't won at all this season. Just looking at, Brentford away at Fulham. That's a decent result. But since then, they've done nothing. That was the first game of the season, second game of the season, sorry. And since then, they've done nothing. They've lost 4 out of the last 5. That includes a defeat to Everton, who, like I said, hadn't won at any point this season at that point. But I think Brentford are in trouble because I don't think Ivan Toney plays for them again. Even when he comes back from his ban in January, I think he's off. They might just have enough to stay up. I think Everton just have enough to stay up. But let's judge us, like I said, after we play these games in and around us. I will be worried if we get beat against Brentford. The next 2 games, at the very, very minimum, I know some people have said minimum 4 points. I'm just going to be a little bit more reserved. At the very minimum, we have to win 1 game against Brentford and Bournemouth. At the very, very minimum, we have to win 1 game. I genuinely believe we get 4 points or even win them both. I think Brentford will be the hardest one out of the 2. Like, I think Bournemouth are dreadful. Honestly, I think they really are. I think the only reason Bournemouth stay above us is if they sack that manager and bring in somebody that galvanises them and starts, getting results for them. But I think Bournemouth are absolutely dreadful. Sheffield United, this is probably one of the worst teams I've seen in the Premier League era. I do think they'll get more points than Derby. But I was speaking to a Sheffield United fan at work on Sunday, and he genuinely said, look, this season's written off. We've got so many injuries. I just want to make sure we beat that Derby record. That is their aim at the minute, to get more than 11 points. We will finish above Sheffield United. We will finish above Luton. I believe we finish above Bournemouth as well. I'm still quite positive about the season. We'll have to start wrapping this up now. I'll quickly go on to Neil's video to get some comments. I'll read some out and give my thoughts on it. BFC1882 says, the problem is Vincent Kompany doesn't know his best 11. 4 changes today is way too much. Yep, agree. Said that myself already. I agree. He definitely doesn't know his best 11. Just get a nice settled squad, Vinny, if you're listening or watching. Get yourself a nice settled squad. Stop tinkering. Like, why, when you beat Luton, I know Luton and Chelsea are different teams, and I just think he's overthinking it. I think he's tried to adapt our personnel to their style of play. But when you've just played Luton and you've got the win, and you're feeling a bit more positive, why then take out 4 of the lads? All right, one of them was enforced, but why then take out 3 of the lads that got you that win? And Jacob Broom-Larson, he come off the bench. I said on Twitter before the match, I would have started Jacob Broom-Larson instead of Mike Trezor. Odebear ended up doing well, but I would still be looking at Zorora. I believe Zorora is ill. I'm not sure how official or anything that is, but I believe Zorora is ill. But he doesn't know his best team, and I think that's shown in the team selections. We all alongside Burnley says, I don't understand why Trafford died to his right on the last goal when Jackson had it on his left foot. He was always going to fire ball, and the ball in the bottom left corner. Hindsight's a wonderful thing, isn't it, mate? You can't tell where he's going to put it. I'm sorry, mate. I disagree with that one. You can't tell where he's going to put it. Adam the Wolf, I don't think he's a Burnley fan. Presume with a name like that, he's a Wolves fan. But he says, 15 minutes you were playing similar to Red Bull Leipzig, but then after the own goal, you just give up. Excuse me. And the team just stopped defending, and even Red Bull Leipzig, the last Man City all 3 won the Champions League. He waffles a bit, but I understand what he's saying. We did play well in the first. I thought we played well in the first half an hour. The intensity dropped off a little bit after we scored the goal, which is worrying. Yeah, and Neil does. I can't play the Neil clip in here, but Neil does go on to make a point about Trafford and bringing in Muric, and I won't go on to Dale's video. Dale's got enough likes and comments on it anyway. Dale's the poster boy of Turfcast at the minute, it seems. But Neil goes on to make the point that Muric should be starting. Now, I said a couple of games ago that I weren't convinced on Trafford. I'm still not. Trafford isn't doing anything wrong, right? It's a difficult one, this one, because he's not. We have bigger problems than Trafford. The defenders in front of him are the bigger problems at the minute. But I think the reason, personally, why the defence is the way it is at the minute is because they don't trust their goalkeeper. Muric, so many times, will come out, he'd offer an outlet, when we had the ball, or he'd be higher up the pitch, better positioning, or he'd come out and collect his crosses. I just feel like the defenders just aren't as confident in Trafford as they were in Muric. And yes, Trafford isn't doing anything wrong, but I don't think, as Dale put it brilliantly in his fan reaction, I just don't think he's the keeper we need right now. I agree with the lads. I think we need Muric. Now, I think the tough decision for Kompany now is, do you bring Muric in now, ahead of these 2 big games against teams that are in and around us, or do you give Trafford these 2 games? Because he's only really played against very difficult sides and Luton and Forest. So I think he'll stick with Trafford for now. I personally will go Muric now and just think, well, these are winnable games. We're going to have more of the ball. And when we have more of the ball, that's when Muric is at his best. But yeah, I've said it before and I'll say it again. I do feel like it's the Joe Hart versus Tom Heaton debate all over again. Do you remember from what year? 2016? I can't remember. Probably not. Maybe 2018, something like that, wouldn't it? But anyway, I can't remember. Don't matter. The point I'm trying to make is Joe Hart wasn't doing anything wrong. It's just that Heaton offered us something different. because Trafford likes to stay back. He likes to camp on his line. He's getting better. He's definitely improved from the keeper that we saw against Man City on the opening day of the season. He comes out and collects more crosses than what he used to do, but it's still not enough. And I just feel like Muric offers us something more at this stage, and I think Muric would be the better option. I like Trafford. I don't know why. I don't know why personally, after the season that Trafford had last season, what baffles me is Muric was fantastic last season. He was brilliant. Bit shaky in the opening, 5, 6, 7 games, but weren't they all? After that, he just went from strength to strength. The fans loved him. There were people around me that hated him at the start of the season that loved him at the end. Why then, when this guy's on this upwards trajectory, would you then drop him? He deserved the chance to play against the Premier League side. He deserved to play in the Premier League. He's not been given that chance. We brought Trafford in with an eye for the future, I think. I think we spent £19 million on him, not because of the keeper that he is now, but the keeper that he will be in the future. He will be England's goalkeeper in the future. He will be a very, very, very good goalkeeper. We'll probably go back to Manchester City, and if he does do that, we'll win Premier League titles. I just don't think he's that keeper yet. I personally would have brought him in, spent 19 million quid on him, and then shipped him out on loan. But I know some people say, you can't spend 19 million quid and send somebody out on loan. Fair enough, I get that. But I feel like that would have been better for the side now and better for the development of Trafford. Because this can't be helping Trafford. Trafford's going to be low on confidence. He's not going to be enjoying his football. He's probably thinking, I wish I'd stayed at Bolton, because obviously they were doing well in the league. I would have sent him out on loan to a championship side. Championship side, playing in a certain way. Maybe somebody like, I don't know. I'm not watched any of it this season, if I'm being honest with you. But someone battling at the top of the table who plays in a certain way. But yeah, I just think bringing Muric in would offer us something different, even though Trafford's not doing anything wrong. If that makes sense. I think it does. Anyway, it's about 40 minutes. I'm going to wrap it up here. I actually need to set off somewhere. I'm going to be late for where I'm meant to go. I've done well. Let me know if you think I've done well. I think I've done well just waffling on for 40 minutes on my own. The lads will hopefully be back for the full-time show for the game against Brentford. Like I said earlier, I'm going to Brentford, and I think I'm working on the Sunday. So we'll find a way when to do it. If the game finishes at 5, I could be back for 8 and do it half 8, something like that. We'll see. But yeah, I've already sorted out a pre-game show. It's going to be with the lads from Be Sotted Brentford podcast. So looking forward to that one. And hopefully we'll fill a bit of a gap this weekend. Obviously, it's international break, but I'll try and do something for you this weekend. But thanks everybody for watching. If you're watching on YouTube, apologies it was late. Apologies I'm on my own, but it's through no fault of my own. But yeah, fingers crossed for the rest of the season. Keep the faith, because I think we'll be fine. I'm telling you now, the bottom 3 will be Sheffield United, Luton Town, and Bournemouth. Up the Clarets.